الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So we are in the Khilāfah Umayyah, which is the Umayyad Caliphate, as they say in English, Khilāfah Umayyah. And before we move forward, I wanted to discuss a very important incident in the Tariq of Islam. And even if the impact of it is not like a battle or something, it's something very important for us to understand. One of the people we spoke about in these durus is Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, al-Thaqafi, al-Mubir, the one that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam called him a murderer, somebody who was cruel. Regarding Hajjaj, you see some very extreme views. Sometimes you see people cursing him and things like this. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we don't make takfir on him either. He was somebody who did a lot of bad things. But think about it this way, right? How many of us have filthied ourselves with sin? We've done horrible things. May Allah hide them in dunya and forgive them in akhirah, and hide them so nobody sees them. So don't be so quick to make takfir on somebody. Calling somebody kafir or something very heavy. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, even if he did some very bad things, and we'll talk about one of those bad things today. So I'm prefacing this because we always like to have a very balanced approach. We also want to mention that no doubt in the kutub of tariq, he was also a mujahid. He was somebody who fought. And he was somebody who fought the kuffar, and he did a lot of khidmah for the Quran, with putting what later became the harakat. And at that time it wasn't fatha, dhamma, kasra, but he started to put in dots and things at that time to understand how the Quran should be recited. And he is the one that sent Muhammad ibn Qasim, and we'll discuss that a little bit later, and things like this. Having said that, he's definitely not somebody to look up to. Some people on the other extreme, they see him as a role model. He definitely was not. The Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we take the middle path. We condemn what he did wrong. He was not a Sahabi. He doesn't have that standing. He was a Tabi'i, and we don't call him kafir either. We don't go to the level of takfir here. We appreciate the good things he did, but no doubt we say that the evil that he did was something that even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called him a murderer. So how can we show any respect for something like this? And this is where some of the a'imma and ulama said that there is a difference between muqatil, the one who fights, and somebody who is ghazi fi sabilillah, mujahid fi sabilillah. Sometimes a mu'min will fight fi sabilillah even though he is not a fighter by nature. By nature he's not rough, he's not a gangster, or he's not a thug, he's not like that. But he will realize that there is khair in it, and he will obey the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes you have somebody that's just a thug, he's just a guy who likes to pick fights, and if he's not fighting there, then he's fighting his own brothers in Islam and things. And that is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And it's not just about being tough. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf wanted to kill Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, the famous Sahabi, the Khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the narrator of one of the highest number of ahadith narrated by anybody in the top 5, Anas ibn Malik, so on, and I'm sure you know his fadail. But Anas ibn Malik, he was somebody who did Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar. The Sahaba were not afraid. So he spoke the truth. Hajjaj heard about this, and he became upset, and he decided, and he had in a place where he would sit, a place to kill people regularly. And he would have a mat, a special mat. Nowadays, I guess we would have plastic covering. So, if you walk into a meeting and there's plastic covering on the floor, I'd be concerned, You're probably not going to become a made man that day. So he had a special mat as well that would stop the blood from hitting the ground. Right? So he had this mat set up, and he had a special sword that he would use regularly. He had it brought, and he invited Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik, the people told him, don't go. He's going to kill you. He kills a lot of people. And he had this weird mindset. He said everybody in Medina is responsible for the murder of Uthman radiallahu anhu, so they can all be killed. It's obviously an incorrect mindset, but he had his own mistaken ideologies. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, in the Sahih Hadith, he started to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made dua and he went. It's a Sahih Hadith. When he got there, Hajjaj made ikram for him. Hajjaj brought food for him. Hajjaj brought water for him and was serving him. People were shocked. The death mat was out, the sword was there, but Hajjaj not doing anything. When Anas ibn Malik left, people asked Hajjaj, what happened? I thought you were going to kill him. Hajjaj said, I couldn't. He said, why couldn't you? He said, I don't know. People went to Anas ibn Malik. They told him, Hajjaj kills everybody. When he calls somebody, he kills them. He goes, what happened? He said, I made dua to Allah. SubhanAllah. What a simple solution. And how difficult it is for us to comprehend it today. The weakness of our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything we think about is through sabab. And dunya is daru sabab, but what happened to making your dua, your salah, your sabab? This is something we should take a lesson from today. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, he heard about a tabi'i. And this tabi'i, Saeed Ibn Jubayr. Saeed Ibn Jubayr is a tabi'i. And he is a famous scholar. And he's Saeed Ibn Jubayr. There have been books written on the fiqh of Saeed Ibn Jubayr. If you pick up the book of Tafasir today, like al-Tabari and Ibn Kathir and like these kinds of Suyuti's, Dur al-Manthur and things like this, you will find the athar or the sayings of Saeed ibn Jubayr a lot. Because he was very knowledgeable and he took his fiqh from the Sahaba directly. He didn't study from Tabi'un. He studied from the Sahaba constantly. That's why Imam al-Shafi'i and many other A'imma and Ulama even accept his Mursal Ahadith. And if you don't know what that is, attend the Hadith Durus. So, a very strong scholar, Mufassir of the Quran, Faqih, Alim, Mujahid, fought jihad fi sabilillah, and a brave man. A man who had no fear except from Allah. So when we tell him, you're crazy, how do you speak out against Hajjaj? And he's here, he said, I don't fear except Allah. So Saeed ibn Jubayr, he heard about this. Hajjaj called for him to be arrested. So he was arrested and he was brought. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf has a long conversation. I'm only going to take some beneficial points from. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. But he has a conversation. He asked Saeed ibn Jubayr, what's your name? He said, Saeed ibn Jubayr. He told him, Bal anta shaqeed means the one who's blessed, the one who's given a lot of good, who's happy, the one who's fortunate. Right? Allah has written a beautiful qadr for him. He's fortunate. That's what Saeed means. And Jubayr is the one who has been healed, and he's somebody who was hurt and then got bandaged, and became whole, became healed, became better. So Hajjaj, in trying to upset him, he told him, no, you're not Saeed ibn Jubayr, bal anta shaqi. Shaqi is what? The one who is depressed, evil, the one who is destroyed, the one who has a very bad fortune, bad qadr, bad life. Somebody's shaqi. He said, you are shaqi ibn Kusayr. Kusayr means the one who's broken. Right? So he flipped each word, but interestingly on the same wazn. If you look at the Arabic language of it, he used the same awzan. So it tells you he was quite good in Arabic at least. Saeed ibn Jubayr told him, my father named me and I think he knew better. So Saeed ibn Jubayr, he didn't get afraid. He didn't go, oh man, Hajjaj just said this. He told him, the one who named me knew better than you. So I know my name better than you. Hajjaj became upset. Hajjaj told him, people say you don't laugh. Saeed ibn Jubayr, he didn't used to laugh. And that's the thing about many of the Salaf of this ummah. And if you look at the Muqaddimah of Sahih Muslim, you find some of the Tabi'een like Rabi' ibn Hirash, also his brother Rabi'i ibn Hirash. There were two brothers, both tabi'een, and they were never, in their whole life, they never laughed. Like they smiled, but they never laughed. And Saeed ibn Jubayr was from those people that he was very serious. So Saeed ibn Jubayr was known amongst the people that he wouldn't laugh. So Hajjaj asked him, how come you don't laugh? Saeed ibn Jubayr said that, I find it amazing that somebody knows that death is in front of me. And death is in front of you. And the Jahannam is on the other side of it, that it is there. And they don't know that they will pass over it. Yani when you go, they'll be able to cross it and they laugh. I find that amusing. Like I find that interesting, that how can somebody laugh not knowing where they will end up? And that's how focused people like Saeed ibn Jubayr and Rabi' ibn Hirash and others were. Regarding Rabi' ibn Hirash, as in the kutub of authentically documented tariq, they said about him that he didn't laugh. And you can find this in the Muqaddam of Sahih Muslim as well. Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah has mentioned this as well. He wouldn't laugh. When he died, and his body was on the place maghsala, yani the place where they gave ghusl to the dead. When they were washing his body, all the people that were there washing his body, they heard him after death, after him being dead. They heard him laugh. And this is authentic. This is not one of those weird stories that people make up and stuff. This you can find in the kutub of tariq with asanid. This is authentic. These are the awliya of Allah. These are people who control their nafs in dunya. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give them this blessing, to show the dunya that they weren't just depressed people or something like this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them that blessing after death. So here, Saeed ibn Jubayr told Hajjaj the same thing. He told him, how can I laugh? I don't know if I'm going to get to Jannah. If I get to Jannah, then I will be happy, then I will laugh, then I will enjoy. But until then, I have to be focused. Hajjaj told him, but I laugh. So what do you say about that? Saeed ibn Jubayr said, everybody has their own mindset. And I'm not going to say you can't laugh. I'm not going to say it's haram to laugh. I'm not going to tell you why you're laughing. Khalas, you have your own mindset. I have my own mindset. May Allah give us whatever is written for each one of us. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf told him, I'm going to kill you. It wasn't like one of those James Bond villains that tells him like, he just told him, so I'm going to kill you. So here, Saeed ibn Jubayr said that if I knew that this was in your hands, then I would respond to you. In one of the narrations, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to send you to the nar. I'm going to send you to Jahannam. Saeed ibn Jubayr told him that if I knew that sending me to Jannah or Jahannam was in your hands, then I would have worshipped you. But I know it's not. So I'm not worried about you killing me or whatever you want to send me. Subhanallah. Yani this is Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. Nobody today would put fear in somebody's heart like Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. But even then, Saeed ibn Jubayr, you look at him, he doesn't have khawf. Why? Because the khawf of Allah has taken root in his heart. And when the fear of Allah is in your heart, then the fear of makhluk is not in your heart. Saeed ibn Jubayr is sitting on the mat where they kill people. Hajjaj has the army swords in front of him. I mean, this is not like a movie. Like right now, any one of us think, I would do that too. But go walk down a dark alley and just somebody starts following you and see, you won't be able to speak straight. You can talk all you want at home. Nowadays you have YouTube warriors, Twitter gangsters. Talk all your stuff. Let's see you do it in person. Right? Saeed ibn Jubayr, being that brave, Hajjaj became upset. Hajjaj told him, I'm going to kill you for sure. How do you want me to kill you? You tell me. How should I kill you? By the sword, by the whip? How should I kill you? Saeed ibn Jubayr told him, kill me in any way you want to be killed. Subhanallah. He told him, kill me in whatever way you would like to be killed. Because I know whatever you do to me will come back to you. Hajjaj became upset. He looked at Saeed ibn Jubayr and his face didn't change. Like he wasn't worried. He didn't see fear on his face. So he told him, the conversation's over. He brought the sword to kill him. Saeed ibn Jubayr told him, my name was correct. He told him, what do you mean your name was correct? He said, you will kill me. You are the dhalim. I'm going to be shaheed. So I'm Saeed. I am the blessed. I'm fortunate because I'm shaheed. So my name was correct. Hajjaj, of course, he became more upset than that. Hajjaj told him, I'm better than you. When he told him that you're the dhalim, I'm going to be shaheed, Hajjaj told him, I'm better than you. Saeed said, nobody should judge who is better or worse until they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges. And it is a very difficult. He didn't turn around and say, no, I'm better than you. Like today, if somebody comes to somebody and says, I'm better than you, immediately response is, what? No, I'm better than you. They mentioned their virtues, you mentioned your virtues, but Saeed ibn Jubayr was smarter than that. He said, why should I say I'm better than maybe I'm not? Allah knows better. So he left it to Allah. He says, but he told him, don't say you're better than me. Because how do you know? Until you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges between the people, how do you know who's better than anybody else? Hajjaj told him, should I forgive you? Hajjaj gave him a chance. Should I forgive you? Now, to be honest, all of us at this moment be like, yeah, let's just let it go. I did enough. I was brave. I didn't sell out. No, let's just let it go, right? Gotta live, right? Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, I forgive you. Saeed ibn Jubayr said, forgiveness is only for Allah. You can't forgive me. Forgiveness is only in the hands of Allah. So if I'm going to ask forgiveness, I'm going to ask forgiveness from Allah. You do whatever you like. Hajjaj said, I'm killing somebody who caused division amongst the Muslims. He tried to make an excuse in his mind why he's killing this pious man. Right? Saeed ibn Jubayr said, Allah knows better who united and who divided. Like he also didn't tell him, no, you did. Instead, he said, Allah knows better. Hajjaj said, kill him. And he said, let's just kill him. Saeed ibn Jubayr said, let me make 2 rak'ah. Rak'atan, 2 rak'ah. Told him, okay. He prayed 2 rak'ah. He didn't prolong them very long. He didn't make them very long. When he finished his rak'atain, he told Hajjaj, I wanted to make longer rak'at, but I was afraid that you might think that I'm trying to avoid death, so I shortened them. Subhanallah. He put his face towards the Qibla and he said, I put my face towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Fatir al-samawati al-ard. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, pick him up, Saeed ibn Jubayr, and turn his face away from the Qibla, towards the Qibla of the Jews and the Christians. When he did that, Saeed ibn Jubayr, he said, وَلِلَّهِ مَشْرِكِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the east and the west. Wherever you face your face is the wajh of Allah. Inna Allah wasi'un alim. And he answered him from the Quran. He told him, you can face me any way you like. It's to me, I'm still facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf killed him. And he cut off his head. And a large amount of blood pumped. It was bleeding. The blood was not jammed up, like it wasn't stopping. It was flowing with a lot of ease. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was shocked by this. So he went to the physicians and he told them, why is it that most people I kill, their blood freezes up? And then it kind of starts to squirt and then it starts to come out. But Saeed ibn Jubayr, when he cut his head, the blood just flowed easily. They said because his body was relaxed. Saeed ibn Jubayr, at the time of his shahada, his body he wasn't afraid. He didn't tense up. Now, no doubt, Saeed ibn Jubayr became a shaheed. But interestingly, as Imam al-Dhahabi and Ibn Kathir and others have mentioned, he did a favor to the ummah before his death, before his shahada. He made dua, Saeed ibn Jubayr, he said, oh Allah, don't let this zalim, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, harm anybody after me. Let me be the last one that he harms. He didn't say, Allah protect me and take me out. He wanted to be a shaheed. You gotta die anyway, sooner or later. So alhamdulillah, shahada is a beautiful death. So he was happy about that. He didn't ask Allah to protect him away from Hajjaj or anything. He accepted the shahada. But he said, oh Allah, don't let this man harm anybody after me, the zalim. And few days, according to some of the ulama of tariq, 5 to 7 days after the death of Saeed Ibn Jubayr. But what is rajih? More likely between 10 to 15 days after his death, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf died. So the dua of Saeed ibn Jubayr came true at the end of his life. Now, I will mention that during this time, and I mentioned some of the evil that Hajjaj ibn Yusuf did, he also did some good. And one of the goods he did, Muhammad ibn Qasim, who was the one who took Islam in a comprehensive manner, not just in the beginning of battles and things, in the area of what's called the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, all of these areas, Kashmir, all this area. Muhammad bin Qasim was very instrumental in that, and he was sent by Hajjaj. Not just that, Hajjaj supported him and advised him, and Islam became a dominant force and controlled the areas all the way into what is present day Kashmir. May Allah free Kashmir. So all the way there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established the religion in his time. He ordered the dialect to be added with the dots in the Quran. He sent ulama, many of them, to go teach people in the area that became Muslim. And at this time, the ulama that went to these areas, they didn't have Hanafi and Shafi'i and Maliki and Hanbali and all these. These were just ulama amongst the tabi'un, those early tabi'un, and they would go and teach from the Quran and the Sunnah. And I want to mention that because nowadays some people think a madhab is DNA based. Like some people think that if you're from this country, you have to follow this madhab. I was in a particular country, not going to mention the name, Pakistan. So when I was there, some of the people said that what they were doing, when I told them this is wrong against the Sunnah, they said that we've been doing this for a long time. And if this was wrong, then the Sahaba that came here, that taught us the religion, that from that time have we all been wrong? So then I tried to explain to them that what you are teaching today is not from the time of the Sahaba. Don't think that Dars-e-Nizami was set up by Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhu. This is something that was set up during the Mughal Empire. And the standardization of Hafs as a qira'at on the Ummah, and nothing wrong with Hafs. Or the Hanafi madhab as standard in the subcontinent in Turkey, and nothing wrong with the Hanafi madhab. But don't think this is something that happened from the time of the Sahaba. Don't think that in the time where the Muhammad bin Qasim went, he was teaching Quduri and Hidayah. These things happened later in a political move. And that's why many of the ulama of the Shafi'i madhab, if you look in tariq, they will be from Balkh, they will be from Khurasan. Many of the Hanabila, many of the great Hanafi scholars, for example, Az-Zayla'i, he's from current day Somalia. Even though you don't see the Hanafi madhab being taught in Somalia today. Many of the Ahnaf, the great Ahnaf scholars, you will find them from Sham and from Khalij and these areas there. So don't think madahib are like this. No, rather, whatever Khilāfah was and whatever they put on the people, they taught. But at this time, this was before the madahib, so they went, alhamdulillah, many Imam and ulama went and they taught the Muslims there. At this time, Walid ibn AbdilMalik, who we talked about in the last dars, he died. And he assigned Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik. Sulayman, the son of Abdul. These are all now the children of AbdulMalik ibn Marwan, who was from the Umayyah Khilāfah. Sulayman, even though and this is why I want to emphasize, because people take the Umayyah in tariq as being very corrupt and being lavish and this and that. But this is not always true. And we'll talk about Umar Abdul Aziz, who's also one of the Umayyah Khilāfah. Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik, as I could find in the Kutub of Tariq, was always praised for being pious, for being righteous, and for being upright. Sulayman Ibn AbdilMalik became the Khalifa from the Umayyah, but no doubt that he was a pious man. Better than Walid, better than many of the ones that came before him. And some of the very important things, the jihad was going on in these times as well, but some other very important things. The Umayyah, in the time of Walid ibn AbdilMalik, they had delayed the salawat to a later time. Yani they would pray the salawat late. Now, from the sunnah is to pray some salawat a little bit later. Like dhuhr when it's hot. You can delay dhuhr when it's hot. Isha, it's good to pray late, but yani you have to look at the people who are going to make salah and what's convenient for them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to pray Isha very late, but he didn't because the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum would start to doze waiting for salah. So this means that there are some things that are mustahab, like Fajr should be prayed early. Fajr should be early. Dhuhr should be at its early time, unless it's hot, then it can be delayed a little bit later. I'm talking about in Jama'ah. Asr should be prayed at its early time. It is makruh to delay Asr. Maghrib should be prayed early. It's makruh to delay Maghrib to later time. I mean, a few minutes for making rak'atayn is not the issue. Isha should be prayed later, but you can pray it early. But what the Umayyah did, because they would lead the salah. At that time, the Khilāfah would lead the salah. They would give khutbah. And it wasn't like our leaders today, good luck getting them to lead salah, let alone pray salah in many of the countries. May Allah protect the Muslim leaders and guide them and guide us. Make dua for them. Tayyib. So the Umayyah, because they were leading salah and they were lazy themselves, so they would delay the salahs very late. Not outside its time, but delayed very late. Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik, when he came into authority, one of the first things he did, he made the salawat back to where it should be, early. Except for Isha, which was a little bit later, and as I said, Dhuhr in the hot times, but he took it back to the way the Sahaba radiyallahu used to do it. And he got a lot of flack from his own family. And I want to mention a hadith here. It's in Sahih Muslim. Abu Dar al-Ghaffari radiyallahu anhu reports from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Rasul told him that, and it's a long hadith, I'm just going to mention the parts that's relevant, that one of the alamat, one of the signs of the Day of Judgment is that you will get leaders who will delay the prayers. So Abu Dar radiyallahu anhu, he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should we do in that time? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray in the early time, even if it's by yourself. And if you see them, then pray again with them. So what does that mean? If some masjid, for example, does some things that are against the sunnah, you can still do them yourself according to the sunnah, but not to cause fighting and any things like this, unless it's Amr bin Ma'ruf and things, and the situation is there. But this also, as An-Nawawi and others have said, this was one of the signs that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted as a prophesied, and it came true. And from the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during this time. For example, one of the bid'at that the Umayyah, and they're called Marwani bid'at, even though Marwan is not the one that started all of them, started, was they did not want to have takbirat out loud in salah. And this is why I want to point these out, because sometimes people, they take an alim who's early and they say, oh, how could he have anything wrong? He was so early. Well, these people are before all of the four ai and they got things wrong. Sahaba were alive at that time. There at that time, but they got things. Not everything that a tabi'i saw was everything taken from a sahabi. So here, the Umayyah, what they said, they told the ai that lead salah not to make takbirat. Some of the ulama said that they made it silently. Like even in the regular salah, when you begin salah, you say Allahu Akbar, they just, when you go into ruku, they just went in. They didn't say Allahu Akbar out loud. People had to be looking to see if the imam has gone. It's true. Look up the Kutub al-Tarikh. And this is before Abu Hanifa and before Malik and before Shafi and before Ahmad radiyallahu anhu. So early on. Sahaba, Anas ibn Malik is there, Abu Hurairah are there. But what can they do? And they did it by force. So they stopped the takbirat. Here, Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik, he changed this. When he became the Khalifa, he told them, make the takbirat out loud. I'll mention a hadith, and this is a Sahih hadith as well. One time before Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik, before that time, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu came to the Masjid. Walid, who was the Khalifa that would lead the Salah there, was not there. And who had assigned was not there. They were both late. So people, they pushed Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the great Sahabi, the great scholar of hadith, the one who narrated the most ahadith and all of that. They pushed him forward to lead Salah. So he led Salah, he recited the takbirat out loud. Obviously, as the sunnah is. When he finished the Salah, and these are 12 takbirat that were out loud in 4 rak'ats. Ikramah, who was the student of Ibn Abbas. Ikramah, the student of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he prayed behind Abu Hurairah, and after Salah he went to Ibn Abbas and he told him, some strange old man led the Salah today and he did something strange. Now pay attention, why? Ikramah is even before the 4 A'imma. And the silent takbirat had become so prevalent because the government, that even though he was a student of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he didn't know this mas'ala. Direct student. This should clarify some of the shubuhat people put in your mind about A'imma and things. So here he went to Ibn Abbas and he said, an old man led Salah, he did something strange, he made 12 takbirat out loud. Ibn Abbas told him, where did he make them out loud? He said, when he started the Salah, when he went in ruku, he mentioned the takbirat. Ibn Abbas told Ikramah, may your mother be freed from you. And he told him a harsh word. He told him, what's wrong with you? This is the sunnah. Now Ikramah is the student of Ibn Abbas, but he had not learned this mas'ala from Ibn Abbas until this time. Ikramah is a great mufassir, faqih. But this is something that when it becomes prevalent in a place, he still didn't know this. But Ibn Abbas and Abu Hurairah and those Sahaba, they knew the sunnah. So Ibn Abbas told Ikramah, no, he was not a fool. This man is Abu Hurairah. Ikramah didn't recognize, because Ikramah used to be in Mecca with Ibn Abbas. But when he was in Medina and he saw this, Ibn Abbas told him this was not a fool, this was Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. And what he did was according to the sunnah. فقال هذا من سنة أبو القاسم, and this is from the sunnah of Abu al-Qasim, يعني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik was very pious. He brought a lot of the sunan back. He made rad on some of the bid'at that the Umayyah before him had put, Banu Umayyah had put in his place. Sulayman himself, he wanted to go fight jihad fi sabilillah. And he was always somebody who loved to fight fi sabilillah. And when he was on his way, in one of the times in Azerbaijan, and in the northern areas where the Muslims had taken, but the kuffar were still fighting. On his way to Azerbaijan, he died. So the ulama have written him amongst the shuhada. Even though it was before he got to the place of fighting, but because he was going out jihad fi sabilillah, and he died with that niyyah, he was written amongst the shuhada. I will mention something that Imam al-Dhahabi has mentioned about Abbasiyah, the Abbasiyah that come later. During the Abbasiyah, they had a great hatred for the Umayyah. When we study, inshallah, if Allah gives us tawfiq to go into the Abbasiyah, then you will know about it. But I'm going to mention something from the future to explain this, from the future of where we're at, not future from now, like Tariq. The Abbasiyah, when they took over the Khilāfah, they dug out the graves of the kings of the Umayyah to disrespect them, which is against the sunnah, it's haram, but they did it. But one of the people they dug out was Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik. And the ulama that were there, that saw this and documented this and condemned it, but didn't have authority to stop it, they said that we saw the body of Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik, and his body was as fresh as somebody would have buried it that day. They said even his cuts had fresh blood still flowing from them. And this was years after his death. They said when they picked up his body, his arms were soft. They didn't have rigor mortis. And they saw his cheeks were flush, and they didn't become pale. And they said we bore witness to the fact that he was a shaheed fi sabilillah from that. Tayyib, now when he was, I went to the future just to talk about him, and I want to come back to where we were. When he was going fi sabilillah and he fell sick and he was at the time of death, he was told to assign the next Khalifa. Now what had happened so far? Either a person assigns his son, like Muawiyah did with Yazid and Yazid did with his son Muawiyah, or a brother, like Abdul Malik's children were assigning their brothers. So when Sulayman ibn AbdilMalik was told that why don't you assign your son, he said no. He said why? He said because the Khilāfah does not go by lineage. I mean, he said something very good. He said this is not about just me trying to keep the Khilāfah in my immediate family or my son or my brother, but the most qualified should become Khalifa. Now, he had an elder son, he had people who would have liked to have stepped into that role and all of that, but he didn't. The next brother in line, his name was Hisham ibn AbdilMalik. So many people told him, if you're not going to assign your son, assign Hisham. He said no. He said Hisham is not the most qualified. So they told him, who's the most qualified then? He said, in my eyes, the most qualified is Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Abdul Aziz was the brother of Abdul Malik. So Abdul Aziz is not even in the same, I mean they're the same Umayyah, but they're not even in the same subsection. And it's Abdul Aziz's son, so his nephew. So he saw Umar ibn Abdul Aziz to be the most pious and most qualified at that time to lead. So instead of assigning his son or his brother, he assigned Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. But now he knew this would be a difficult thing. Why? Because the Umayyah had gotten used to the next person in line is either the son or the eldest alive brother. So he said that if I tell the people, and I'm already at the time of death, maybe there'll be fighting and maybe there'll be revolts and there'll be problems. So he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down a name on a piece of paper. And he wrote Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And he said, tell the people that the Khalifa has ordered that you give bay'ah to whoever name is on that paper. So his soldiers and his people, without even knowing who the name is, they went out to the people and they said, the Khalifa has ordered that you give bay'ah to whoever name is on this paper. Many of the people were upset about this. The first person who didn't agree to this was Hisham ibn AbdilMalik. Hisham ibn AbdilMalik, who's the one, and he's the brother, right? He said, show me the paper, so if I see my name on it, I can celebrate, and I will give bay'ah. And if I don't see my name on it, then I can find some way to get my name on it, right? And to figure out what do I got to do, right? They told him no. The Khalifa said, nobody can see the paper until he dies. Bay'ah has to be given blindfolded before that. Hisham, he gave bay'ah. I mean, he didn't have a choice, hoping his name was on it. The next person that opposed this was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, but for very different reasons. As Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi and others have mentioned, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz said, let me see the paper, that in case my name is on it, I can run away from it. I can run away from here. And if anybody else's name is on it, I will give bay'ah and I will be a loyal fighter. And I will be there at their service. But if my name's on it, I'm out. Opposite to what Hisham ibn AbdilMalik said. They told him also, no, sorry, nobody can see the paper. And they didn't say sorry. So bay'ah was given. And it was announced and it was forced. The people were told, you don't have a choice. We got to keep the ummah united. Whoever name is on this paper will be it. Now, subhanallah, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and Hisham ibn al-Malik and all of them were sitting. The Khalifa died. The paper was open. The scroll. When it was open and the name of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was read, 2 people fainted. Guess who? Hisham ibn Malik and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Hisham ibn AbdilMalik, he got up. He was upset. Umar ibn Abdulaziz couldn't stand up. People tell him, get up, give a khutbah, give a talk, and he just became Khalifa. He physically couldn't get up. He would just say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Subhanallah, imagine they ruled 3 continents. I mean, their rule was on 3 continents. Africa, parts what is Europe today, parts of what's Asia today. They had such military and wealth and all of that. And you just got assigned to be the king, to be the Khalifa, to be the Amir al-Mu'mineen, to be the leader, to be whatever you want to call yourself. And instead of celebrating, he's saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He's saying as if a calamity has hit him, as if there's a death. This is the difference between the method of democracy that we've been fed, where everybody's trying to lie and cheat and say whatever and use whatever means and use Russia or whatever else to become president, and somebody who realizes about the responsibility and fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doesn't want it. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz became the Khalifa. We will talk about his Khilāfah in the next class. And it is very, very important for us to know Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. His Khilāfah was from 99 Hijri to 101 Hijri. 2 years and 5 months. Subhanallah, in less than 2 years, such barakah, such adl, such justice was established on earth that according to authentic narrations, in every book of Tariq that details his Khilāfah, you will find that there was nobody to take zakat in 3 continents across the Islamic Ummah. Imagine today, name any Muslim country, doesn't matter, name anyone, the richest to the poorest, and you go there and you take out pure gold dinars, pure gold, and you're like, whoever is in need, take it. Man, it will be gone. The king will take it before anybody else. I'd take it. Maybe I'd give it to somebody else. I mean, I'm not saying I'm mustahiq of zakat, but I'd be like, hey, man, right there. You know, I know some people. Subhanallah, the people who collect zakat would go through the streets of the Muslim Ummah with zakat gold. And look, this is zakat money, please take it. If you know somebody that needs it, take it for them. No, but we're good. I don't know anybody that's in need of zakat. Why? Did they have oil? Was it because of oil revenue? Economy was really good, they had factories, what? No. The Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was established. The niyyah was clean. The leadership was good. The Quran and Sunnah were followed. The people had taqwa. That's how the barakah came. I'll mention one more thing before I end today. And this is again, sometimes in Tariq I have to go back and forward just to make a point. Hisham ibn AbdilMalik, who didn't become the Khalifa at that time. We'll talk about what happened when Umar ibn Abdulaziz was poisoned and all of that. But when he died, he left 1 million dirham. 1 million, alf, dirham, silver, for each child. He left 1 million dirham for each child. Hisham ibn AbdilMalik at his death. In contrast, as al-Dhahabi and Ibn Kathir and others have documented, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, when he was dying, because he was the Khalifa, one thing is your own wealth. From your own wealth, you should leave mirath, you should leave inheritance for your children, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us. But because he was the Khalifa, he considered everything of his to be the Khilāfahs. So he left nothing for his kids. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz left nothing for his kids. He was asked at the time of his death, they told him, look, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you should leave something for your children. He said, look, it's not my wealth. If I earned it and it was mine, I would leave it for them. But this wealth that I was given was the Khilāfah, it was Baytul Mals. This is not mine, it belongs to the Muslims. So how can I leave that for my own children? They said, what will your children do? He said, if my children are pious, then Allah will take care of them. If my children are pious, then Allah will make a way for them. Allah will give them rizq. Don't think Allah will take the rizq away of the pious. And if my children are not pious, then I don't want to leave them with something to do haram with. Subhanallah. How much did Hisham ibn AbdilMalik leave? 1 million dinar per child. How much did Umar Abdul Aziz leave? Sifr, zero, nada, nothing. Al-Dhahabi mentions that in 30 years after that time, they saw the children of Hisham ibn AbdilMalik outside the grand masjid in Dimashq begging people. In 30 years, from 1 million dirham with no barakah, those same children were seen in Tariq outside the masjid in Dimashq, in Damascus, in the grand masjid there, on the steps, begging people. And they saw in the same time period the children of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz go to a gathering where people said, who will donate for the sake of Allah? In one gathering they would donate 100 horses fi sabilillah and not think anything of it. Subhanallah. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Tariq is not something just to read like as if you're reading Harry Potter or some kind of fictional story. This is real. And this is evidence of what we say, that when you feed your children with halal, when you teach your children the right from wrong, Allah will make a way for them. And when you feed your children with haram, and when you teach them wrong, you can leave them millions and billions, it will give no benefit to them. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those that practice on what we've heard and to take a benefit from these lessons, inshaAllah ta'ala.